Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked where I climb the online series 12 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. In the previous episode, we featured a really interesting team with Berry, Iron Defense, Body Press, Calyrex, Ice Rider, so we'll be playing a couple more matches with it today. This team, once again, was created by Binjie Wang, who is a phenomenal player and team builder, so I've linked his Twitter down in the description below. Rental and paste down there if you want to try it out yourselves, and if you haven't seen the last episode, I highly recommend it as well, as it features just how good this Calyrex Ice Rider set can be. So, thanks so much as always for watching. If you enjoyed, please show your support by leaving a like in the video. I'd really appreciate it. And question of the day, a little fun one today, not Pokemon related. I want to know what a song or album that you've enjoyed lately is. For me, I've listened to the Beach House album, the new one, a lot, so would highly recommend that for anyone who likes that genre. But let me know yours in the comment section below, and let's get started. Alright, getting into things here, and it's Kyogre Seismitoad. We've played against a fair amount of Seismitoads. It's funny because, like, I feel like towards the end of Series 11, it had really just started picking up steam, and then going into Series 12, it actually became, like, somewhat meta standard, which I think is cool. Scary thing about Seismitoad is never knowing whether or not they're physical or special, because you could run either. So, Rillaboom is going to be solid here. If I'm my opponent and I want to beat Rillaboom, I would play towards Zapdos and Zacian, right? So, you could just go Zap, Zacian, Kyogre, Seismitoad as 4. And as always, I have to kind of question the lead, like, of just Kyogre and Seismitoad immediately. So I think Landorus is not very good here. I think we probably want to play towards AV Yveltal plus Incin, Calyrex, and Rillaboom, but then it means dropping Rillaboom. Now, if they didn't have the Seismitoad, I would probably bring Rillaboom, but the thing is, Rillaboom is so bad into Seismitoad. Yeah, and this is where Focus Sash Incin can actually be really good for us. So I don't mind Incin, Yveltal, Calyrex, and Rillaboom, I think, as the 4. If they go with Zapdos, for example, then I can just go for Snarl. I guess if they lead Zapdos, though, Max Lightning is definitely going to pack a punch, and it's not like I can fake out to deny it a Lightning, so, yeah. This matchup feels a little bit shaky to me. It's not, like, unwinnable, but it doesn't feel easy by any means. There's Zap and Seismitoad. Okay, I think that's a really good lead, because it's, like, the one thing that beats Seismitoad on my team is that Rillaboom, and then by leading the Zapdos here, you cover for Rillaboom, right? The interesting thing here is both of my opponent's Pokemon are Pokemon that typically want to Dynamax, and so, like, who actually maxes in this position? I would max Zapdos, personally. And then you could, like, Airstream and double up onto my Incineroar. So I'm not totally opposed to a Fake Out on a Seismitoad and a Snarl here. I guess the other thing is my opponent could Geyser into Thunder on Yveltal. So turn 1's tricky here, because I really don't know who's going to want to max. Seismitoad is probably the more clear max option, but the thing about maxing Seismitoad, especially because a lot of Seismitoads don't carry Protect, is as soon as you max, you are bait for Rillaboom. So I actually don't even mind Seismitoad maxing here, because it would mean Rillaboom can just come in and then Grassy Glide it. So let's see. Interesting, they actually offer the option of not maxing either Pokemon to start. Okay. And my Yveltal is faster than their Zapdos, which is a very pleasant surprise. That's like as good of a turn 1 as I can get, given that I thought a lot could go wrong here. Wow. And they just Thunderbolt. Okay, works for me. Being faster with Yveltal here is a really big deal. And the nice thing is now, even if you're, regardless of your Seismitoad set, whether you're physical or special, I'm in a pretty good spot. Here, I don't mind going for Parting Shot onto Zapdos and actually going for an Oblivion Wing to heal up with the Yveltal. The fact that they're not max speed Zapdos makes this a lot easier for me, in my opinion. So they're going to pivot out probably into Kyogre. Yeah, so that sets up the rain. Now you could consider maxing Seismitoad, but the thing is, just the Yveltal and Zapdos speed interaction alone is a huge difference maker in this matchup. Yeah, they are physical and they go for Liquidation, but that shouldn't KO us with Intimidate. Beautiful. So now we should just get the return knockout onto Seismitoad with Oblivion Wing. And I get a Parting Shot off, so this early game was looking really scary, and we actually managed to come out of it, like, very positive, all things considered, because I was just afraid of the amount of offense that my opponent had, but this Incin Yveltal combo, especially with us being a little bit faster, you know, with the Yveltal, and Incin being max speed, also helps. So, I don't know if it's faster than the Zapdos, we still haven't confirmed that, but now I get Parting Shot into Kyogre, and I don't mind going into Calyrex immediately at this point, to be honest, because, like, I can angle for Trick Room, I can angle for you know, max Hailstorm even. Now, we haven't Dynamaxed with this Calyrex yet in using the team, really, right? Because, like, Yveltal, Alecki are typically the best max options, but the fun thing about this team is the flexibility and who you can Dynamax, right? So, they're going to bring out Zacian, which is fine by me. A bunch of different ways we can play this right now. Maybe going to Rillaboom actually just to force Zapdos out first would have been better there. Now that I think about it. Setting up Trick Room isn't necessarily bad. You can't KO both of my Pokemon right now. Yeah, I'm down to Trick Room and Foul Play Zacian, because I don't really care for Kyogre right now. And they're going to Behemoth Blade Yveltal. Oh, I guess the problem here is if Water Spout from Kyogre just one-shots my Calyrex. That would be really bad, actually. Because now it's single target, and that's really scary. Let's see. Okay, now we're good. Yeah, that was a little bit scary, though, honestly. So I get Trick Room up now, which is great. The interesting question is, who do I want to Dynamax at this point? It's pretty easy to go into Rillaboom. I'm honestly kind of down to go into Rillaboom and then, like, max the Rillaboom. Because they're not going to expect Max Quake on the Zacian. Well, actually, they'd probably expect Max Quake from the Calyrex Ice Rider. You know what? I actually think it's fine to click Iron Defense here because we still have got that Babiri Berry, Dynamax, and then G-Max Drum Solo into the Kyogre slot. Because it's like, with Babiri and with the... First of all, the question is, does Zacian feel comfortable to attack in this position? If you protect Zacian here, I should just win the game off this this play. And even if you attack, I still have Incineroar in the back, right? Which is pretty good. The only awkward thing about maxing Rillaboom is it's obviously not super favorable into Zapdos. So that's the one thing to watch out for. And my opponent obviously has not clicked Dynamax in this game yet. But if they allow me to get this Iron Defense off with the Calyrex, I should just win the game. And if you're in my opponent's shoes, if you don't know about this team, one play you have to be really worried about is just Grassy Glide into Kyogre and then Max Quake into the Zacian slot with Calyrex Ice Rider, since Max Quake is obviously pretty standard on Calyrex. So we'll see. There is a bunch that can go wrong here, and with Iron Defense and the defense boost, I still don't know if I can survive Behemoth Blade because Calyrex is at relatively low HP. And they don't go for a Protect, which is a little bit concerning here. Okay. So we'll get a defense boost. We'll get the KO onto Kyogre here as well. The other play I could have obviously gone for was like Max Quake and Body Press and double up onto the Zacian slot, and that's also a potentially game-winning play. I like their decision to not protect either. They are going to just target my Calyrex here, which makes sense. I think they were like, I need a KO Calyrex. I'm just going to Water Spout and Behemoth Blade it. But if I had Max Quake here, well, they probably would survive, actually. We do survive, though. Okay, that's what I thought, but I wasn't 100% sure. This Calyrex just took a Water Spout and a Behemoth Blade. Those are two of the strongest attacks in the format. Like, what? What? Okay, Zapdos comes out now. Now I'm just worried if they have Quick Attack or not. But I'm fine to just click Glacial Lance here and Max Quake into the Zacian slot. Max Quake is nice because it gives me a special defense boost, and basically it forces Zacian to protect. If Zacian doesn't protect here, then we should just get a pretty clean knockout with this double up. And even if they protect, well, I'll get a special defense boost along the way. You maybe get a KO into Kyogre, but then I get a free switch in. Or sorry, you get a KO into Calyrex, but then I get a free switch in into Incineroar. The only awkward thing is my damage output into Zapdos is not great between Gigantamax, Rillaboom, and Incineroar, but I'm glad to feature a game where I max the Rillaboom because I think one thing that makes this team particularly fun and strong is that all 6 of the Pokemon on the team are actually solid, like, max candidates, right? And so even though Alecki and Yveltal, like I mentioned in the previous episode, are the most consistent max options generally, you really can go with anything across the board and just tailor it toward the matchup that you're in. And it's been a while since I've like used a team that really has 6 viable max options. Now, a lot of teams that even have Rillaboom and Incin, like those Pokemon aren't great max options generally, and they go for Max Guard. Oof, that's not going to help them. I can get what they're going for here. The idea is just to hope that I get maybe a little bit greedy and like double up onto the Zapdos slot, but maybe Max Quake actually doesn't KO Zacian here. We'll have to see. But part of the reason why you can max Rilla and Incin with this team a little bit more is because they are a little bit more offensive. And yeah, the Zacian actually does survive that. Okay. That's not good. I could have gone for Body Press there instead, but I wanted to cover for Zapdos, obviously just going for an attack there. That actually does change things. We went from basically a guaranteed win if we get that knockout to now what is a little bit more problematic. Although the nice thing is Rillaboom should be able to just Max Quake the Zacian here for a KO even through Protect. And then Incin here can just go Parting Shot onto Zapdos as well. And since I'm getting these special defense boosts, like Zapdos is not that scary to me. But yeah, that's the thing, right? Zacian is a pretty bulky Pokemon, and that's why my opponent earlier was probably like, you know what, I can take a Max Quake from your Calyrex Ice Rider even if you do have it on there. So makes sense. But now I'm just going to Parting Shot into a Zapdos and go for Quake onto Zacian. Seeing the Max Guard on Zapdos also confirms that it's not Assault Vested, so that's good to know, although AV would actually benefit me in this position because I don't have any special damage at this point. So let's see. Okay. They are going to go for Protect, but you're not going to survive a Max Quake through Protect. And the nice thing is, yeah, like I mentioned, getting these special defense boosts, so an Airstream from Zapdos certainly isn't going to KO me. So we get the knockout through Protect there, and this is one of the nice things about Max moves, the ability to get a quarter damage even if they Protect, right? So that guarantees us the knockout. That's good, but this is my final turn of Max, and then the question is, like, Zapdos here definitely can pull off some magic between crits and confusions with Hurricane, as well as, like, Lightning paras. So there's Max Lightning. That will allow them to change the terrain. It's not very much damage into Incin, though, which is obviously good to see. And now they only have one more turn of Dynamax left, right? The awkward thing, though, is that my Rillaboom can't really do very much into Zapdos at all. Now, Rain stops, allowing Flare Blitz to do a little bit more damage, so that's favorable for us. And Dynamax ends on my end. Okay. This is scary because crits can be really bad for me right now. But I think here I'm just going to go for another Parting Shot onto Zapdos and just start Grassy Gliding it. The reason I want to go for another Parting Shot is because then Zapdos will be at -2 special attack and my Rillaboom will be at +2 special defense. Okay, it's not bad damage from Glide. Yeah, the scary thing here is a single crit and I'm actually in a really bad spot. So I don't love how I played this, but I just didn't expect the Zacian to survive. And if Zacian doesn't survive, then we should comfortably win because then I can just Airstream with, not Airstream, I can go for Glacial Lance with Calyrex Ice Rider, right? Because I still had Trick Room up. So instead of, I could have read into the Max Guard on Zapdos, but the thing is, I figured all I needed was one Glacial Lance and I'd be in a pretty good spot in this game. So yeah, now just double checking field state, +1 special defense, +2 special defense, 3 turns of terrain, they're at -2 special attack. The question here is basically whether or not I want to commit Flare Blitz because it is more damage, and honestly, I should survive one electric type attack, so I'm down to Throat Chop first into Flare Blitz next turn. So this is interesting. They have Roost, but the thing is I can read into the Roost on high horsepower, right? Also, by going for Roost, you get rid of your typing, meaning Glide does more damage. Okay. I'm just going to keep going for this, because Roost does not save you in this position. The play they need to go for this turn is to crit the Incineroar. If you go for anything else, like you target the Rillaboom, or you go for another Roost, I should win the game. But if you crit the Incin, because you have Roost, then you can Roost against the Rillaboom. The thing, though, is Roost getting rid of your flying type does not work in your favor right now. So, yeah. This was a really close one, though, for how good of a lead I felt like I had in the early game. And part of it was just because they had, you know, the Zacian out next to the Kyogre, and those are just two of the most offensive Pokemon you can have in the format. So, okay, they go for Hurricane, which I like. You know, you have a crit chance there as well as a confusion chance, but neither comes out. Throat Chop here will finish things off. So, I did take an inherent risk in maxing the Rillaboom here because I knew it wouldn't ever be able to do super good damage in a Zapdos. I didn't think about Roost. Roost actually would have worked more in my favor because it allows us to actually get more damage off onto it. But the MVP for this one, felt like actually all of our Pokemon were good. Yveltal outspeeding and KOing that Seismitoad early was really nice. Instant for the Intimidate onto Seismitoad was really nice. And then, of course, the Rillaboom to max and then get some good damage through. Trick Room was good, and then Calyrex being able to survive a Water Spout into a Behemoth Blade after the Iron Defense. That's just such a crazy calc. Like, the fact it could take that, and this is a single target Water Spout we're talking about as well, is crazy. So, yeah, but I don't know if I loved how I played this just because I didn't know the Kyogre item, so if it was like Specs and Calyrex gets one shot, that's really bad for me. So I could have considered switching Yveltal into Incineroar earlier on in the match, the turn that Yveltal fainted. That could have been an okay play to go for. But yeah, you can see how interesting this team is, so let's just keep things going. Alright, our next game of the day here, and it is Porygon Calyrex. Ooh, this looks really scary. With Palkia. I don't like Landorus here. It's just so weak in a Calyrex Ice Rider, and it's just not designed for this matchup, so can eliminate that from the field. Ensign. I don't love Rillaboom here because their team is pretty slow-paced. So if I'm dropping Lando and Rillaboom, it means a combination of Ensign, Yveltal, Calyrex, and Rillaboom, which I'm not totally opposed to. I think the strength of Calyrex here is if I can get like an Iron Defense off while not taking max moves from Palkia too early on. Now, Palkia, I think, in general, is going to be a pretty big issue for me. So I'm thinking Instant Yveltal for Snarl Parting Shot Pressure early, try to stall out their Dynamax, and then Calyrex with the Iron Defense Body Press combo can be an absolute beast here. Rillaboom I just don't feel very comfortable bringing because both Calyrex Ice Rider and Palkia are Pokemon that like to max, and they often both carry Max Quake. Even if they don't carry Max Quake, like, they can Trick Room, right? My opponent has 3 Trick Room users, which is really scary, so... The thing is, I'm okay with Trick Room going up if I don't bring Rillaboom and Landorus, right? The other 4 I'm bringing are actually pretty solid because they're so bulky. Rillaboom and Landorus, however, are just very, very frail, and it's not a good matchup for them. So, yeah. It makes Team Preview at least easy for me, although the question is this my most optimal lead matchup? I could have gone Rillaboom, Yveltal. Don't love that particularly, mainly because of Calyrex Ice Rider. So, I mean, I think Instant and Yveltal's safe, and they go with Instant P2. Okay. It works for me. It's a pretty free turn 1 Fake Out and Snarl, but then the question is, where do I go from there? Because with these two, my opponent surely has Palkia and Calyrex Ice Rider in the back, right? Yeah. I don't have Taunt either. If I were my opponent, I would Parting Shot with the Instant right now. Oh, interesting. They Trace Intimidate. Could be, if it's Trace, then could be Foul Play, Eerie Impulse, Recover, Porygon. If I were my opponent, I would angle towards Trick Room, Porygon, and then Parting Shot onto Yveltal immediately. Ugh. I just, like, my lack of damage here is what concerns me. Turn 1, I kind of want to just Fake Out an Oblivion Wing, because Instant doesn't have, like, infinite HP and it can't heal up like Porygon is consistently. So the idea is to just get some damage onto the Instant, assuming it is Parting Shotting. But they actually just Fake Out. Okay. Onto my Instant. Okay. I'll take it, I guess. It is a free Oblivion Wing for now. That does break my Focus Sash, but that's okay. And damage isn't great, but it's not much I can ask for right now. Okay, I've got Rillaboom in the back, so we ideally want to KO Incineroar. Instant's probably switching out here, to be honest. Parting Shot doesn't even give me that much value. I will still go for Parting Shot and Oblivion Wing onto Instant, though, because, like, I just don't find it very valuable to target Porygon, because it's like I'll just end up launching all of these attacks into it, and then it'll just heal back with the Recover. But this is not a particularly exciting early game, and so in my eyes, I'm just trying to chip away at the Instant, especially because it looks like here it doesn't have a Citrus Berry, which is nice. Conserving my Instant is always nice, and now I can go into Calyrex Ice Rider. And the fun thing about Calyrex Ice Rider is, even if you Parting Shot me, I, mainly do damage through Body Press and Iron Defense. So I expect a Parting Shot from their end now. Let's see. Yep. Okay, on a Calyrex Ice Rider, fine by me. Now you can Trick Room and bring in something like Palkia or Calyrex. And the question is, which one of those two would you go out into? I'd probably go into Palkia. If it is Palkia, then the big question... Okay, they go into Calyrex, which I'm okay with. I guess one thing to worry about here is Self-Shadow Ball or Foul Play into activating Calyrex's weakness policy. That's one thing I have to be very, very careful about. There's Trick Room. Okay. Now, the thing is, I've got Iron Defense and Babiri. So here, I don't mind just going straight for Iron Defense and then switching Yveltal out into Incineroar. You can kind of see what I've been doing this game, which is basically, like, chipping away when I have free damage. And the fact that we've chunked Incin for about 50+% is actually quite nice, because that means a Body Press should finish it off at this point. With Yveltal, it didn't really make too much sense to Snarl, especially given that it's Trace Porygon too. You know, with Trace, then it's less likely to be running, like, you know, Tri-Attack, Bolt Beam, for example. So... at least I've gotten damage off, and the thing is that right now my Calyrex is also in a okay position. The only awkward thing is I might have to Dynamax it, because otherwise I still take a fair amount of damage from max moves from Calyrex, and if Porygon 2 does indeed have Foul Play, that's really scary. But either way, the fact that they brought Calyrex over Palkia I think was actually a good thing for me, because I think Palkia, like, I can't immediately slow down in terms of its damage output, and it can max, and I can't really do too much to stop its max. Whereas here, oh, you're White Herb. Okay, very cool. They're going to Dynamax as well. Okay. Another thing I could have considered, by the way, was reversing Trick Room on Calyrex, with my Calyrex. But I'd rather just Iron Defense, to be honest. The White Herb actually goes a long way for my opponent here, though, especially if they read into the instant switch, which is a fairly obvious switch that I'm making. So I wouldn't be surprised if they quaked into the Yveltal slot. Well done. Well done. Yeah. This turn alone shows you the value of an item like White Herb, right? If my opponent doesn't have White Herb, I get the switch in. Even though they made the right prediction, I'd still survive, right? My opponent went all in that turn, where, like, if I just stay in with Yveltal, I'd actually be in a pretty good spot. So, very nicely done. Okay, we get Iron Defense up, though, and now I'm basically playing towards this late game Calyrex Ice Rider sweep. Yeah, they do have Foul Play. Okay. Does no damage anymore, though, which is nice. I do have a problem right now, though, and it's the fact that Calyrex got an attack boost. Like, the difference between an Intimidate and them not picking up the knockout versus picking up the KO and getting an attack boost is a huge difference maker, right? And that's really scary. Now, the nice thing is I've got Protect on the Rillaboom, so I think I can utilize that to my advantage. I can go for another Iron Defense here and Protect. Yeah, and it's like, even if you read into the Protect, I don't think you really have too much that scares away my Calyrex right now. They are going to switch out into Incin, though, which is smart. I like that play on their end. The thing is that Yveltal can just come in and click Foul Play, but the thing is I don't have Protect on the Yveltal. Also, this is funny because we both have, like, random White Herbs in this matchup, but I gotta give them props for the Yveltal, like, prediction into Incin, right? It was a pretty easy prediction to make, but one that gained them a pretty huge advantage, and even if it's easy, it never feels good to be going for a attack that literally a Pokemon is immune to, right? And so, yeah, the White Herb, though, such a difference maker here, and puts me in a particularly trickier position, I have to say. Okay, so we're at +4 defense now with Calyrex, but the thing is, do I have enough time to actually sweep with this Pokemon, basically? Okay, Calyrex heals up first, then Incin. So I outspeed the Incin, which is good to know. Low key, I like kind of want to Dynamax my Calyrex. Oh, I'm at -2 though. That doesn't make much sense, does it? They could just fake out me here, right? How many turns of Trick Room are left? There's still 2. The fact that there's still 2 turns of Trick Room is actually pretty problematic for me here. Because it means that if I lose Rillaboom here, Yveltal can't Protect on the Glacial Lands. I hate that I'm going for this, but I kind of feel like I have to, because I don't have Protect on. If Yveltal had Protect, then it'd be very clear cut, right? But I don't. Okay. So I'm giving up Yveltal, which feels awful, because it's so good in this matchup. There's Fake Out. Yep. Went to Calyrex. And Hailstorm. Makes sense. Okay. Yeah, the White Herb on Calyrex really paying dividends here. But I'm really glad to feature a game with it because a lot of people, when you see White Herb, you're like, is it really worth it over something like Weakness Policy or Lum or AV? And in this game, White Herb basically turned... I felt like I was in a pretty favorable position, right? And the idea was, okay, well, I intimidate you. You don't knock me out immediately. Like, it was the White Herb plus my opponent making a nice prediction that play, or that turn. And so kudos to them, you know? Okay. Now, the thing, though, is I've got this really boosted Calyrex Ice Rider. I think my opponent's actually going to struggle to KO it. So it's the last turn of Trick Room now. 3 turns of Grassy Terrain. And I have the faster Calyrex as well after Trick Room is over. So right now, it's pretty free to just click Body Press into the Instant slot and Fake Out into the Calyrex slot. I don't really have too much reason to not go for that. Calyrex goes for Protect. I'm actually very okay with that because it means I can double up onto Calyrex next turn with Glide plus Body Press. And if that just KOs, I feel like we haven't maxed yet either, which is the other interesting part. There's Body Press. Cool. But it's scary, right? Because I'm staring down a +2 attack Calyrex Ice Rider. And they're going to have Palkia on the back, which is also obviously a pretty big concern for me. Okay. Calyrex heals. Rillaboom heals. Trick Room expires. I would probably just go into Palkia right now. Because Porygon's way too passive. If you go into Porygon, then you could do it. Oh, interesting. I see. Huh. Did not think about that as a possibility. They didn't bring Palkia in this matchup. Wow. Okay. Very cool decision, honestly. Very, very cool. I've seen Quake, Hailstorm, Protect. I don't know if Calyrex has Trick Room is the question. Yikes. I wasn't expecting Amoonguss here, and for this reason, I'm actually doubling up onto it, because my Calyrex should 1v2 their Calyrex and Porygon, given the, This turn was so tricky, because they could easily win just with the Protect on Amoonguss. So if I wanted to read into Protect on Amoonguss, my play would have been to double up onto the Calyrex Ice Rider slot, with Glide plus a Body Press. But if they just go Rage Powder plus Glacial Lance, that's obviously bad. Okay, Amoonguss doesn't Protect. I don't even know if I KO with this double up, though. Ugh. If I do get the KO, though, I think I should win the game. But this is -1, and we're not very offensive on Calyrex Ice Rider. Okay, we do get the KO. I don't know if I still win, though. I mean, I'm at neutral attack now. The thing is, Body Press will just finish off both of my opponent's Pokemon, right? But I can't actually Body Press right now. I also could have protected the Rillaboom there and just gone for Glacial Lance, but I really wasn't sure of that KOing. And if Amoonguss gets a Spore off, that's really bad for me, obviously. This is such an interesting endgame. I think I actually... I was saying earlier how I thought I had the game won, but... like, the awkward thing right now is actually not being able to... Body Press. I actually prefer to not be Dynamaxed, funnily enough. +3 defense, +3 attack, or +4 defense, +3 attack. I'm neutral right now. I think it's fine to max Knuckle in this position. Yeah, I'll just Knuckle into Porygon. Actually, Calyrex might be the right target here. Win or lose, though, this was a really fun game. Like, I gotta give my opponent props because I think they made some really great plays. The first one being the predicting Yveltal to switch out into Incineroar. They're faster. Okay. Wonder if Knuckle into another Knuckle gets the KO here then. Let's see. Oh, it does. That's very nice. Okay. And that's... oh, that's because I got a crit there. Okay. Now, the thing is, Porygon can have Recover, obviously, right? They have high horsepower. Yeah, it's not much damage at all. These defense boosts are just so good for me right now. Porygon should Recover in this position. See, I'm actually a little bit nervous about increasing my attack because it increases the foul play damage output. It's my last turn of Dynamax here. I'm actually down to Hailstorm instead, because Hailstorm will KO if they don't recover. They should recover, though, yeah. Porygon being faster than Calyrex makes this dynamic really awkward. If we were faster, this would have just been GG. But the thing is, right now, you're, like, body press. I also think I should have just targeted the Calyrex both times. I mean, that's really good damage from Hailstorms. I'll take it. High horsepower. Yeah, I mean, it's just, like, no damage coming out right now, right? Which is obviously good for me. But the thing is, by not targeting the Calyrex now, it's like Body Press would have KO'd Porygon anyway, so I essentially wasted 2 attacks. And I don't think Body Press just KOs Calyrex easily from on my opponent's end right now. I'm going to target Porygon in this slot. I don't think +4 Body Press gets it. And so now that you can foul play into... Yeah, I messed this endgame up. I needed to target Calyrex instead, I think. 157 down to 119. Okay, it wasn't that much damage. So they need to do 60 damage right now with the high horsepower. And I don't know if they do. You get an attack boost, but it doesn't really matter right now. Okay, they go for Trick Room. I like that. You give yourself the chance to move first and give yourself a chance to crit as well. Smart. So they do have Trick Rooms. We know their full moveset now. Well, I can't protect. So it basically still comes down to, is high horsepower a 2-hit KO onto me? Also, do you hit high horsepower is the other question. 119. Oh, that is not a 2-hit KO. Okay. Nice. That was another crit. We kind of got some lucky crits here, but I actually don't think either mattered in the long run since Body Press would have KO'd both times anyway. Yeah, so they need a crit right now to win. And they don't get it. Wow. That was one of the most interesting games I think I've played in a very long time. Because, like, the Dynamax was really awkward. Sacking Yveltal was really awkward as well. And then them having Amoonguss over Palkia was really interesting. If Amoonguss protected that turn and they just Glacial Lance there, I would have lost the game for sure. So I had to make a read there, and it fortunately paid off. But that was a terrifying, terrifying matchup. But we come out with a win, so I'll take it. But props to my opponent there. I think they played really well. And I was really impressed by Wider on the Calyrex Ice Rider there. But yeah, this Iron Defense Body Press set is not a meme. Like, it is very, very legit. And I love running conventional Pokemon in very unconventional ways. And so, yeah, this is definitely one of my favorite restricted sets that I've tried out in a very, very long time. All right, the first 2 games today were pretty long, but I figured I'd play one final one, and it is Shedinja. Oh no, well, we have decent ways to hit Shedinja. I mean, between Yveltal, Incid, and Lando, but I almost feel forced to bring all 3 because of Shedinja. This one is very interesting. Seeing Shedinja and Ditto in team preview gives me nightmares, to be honest. Lando Kyogre lead is really scary, I think. Lando Kyogre, I do have White Herb. I'm actually kind of interested in Rillaboom and Calyrex as a lead for once. Yveltal in the back. And Incin gives me another Shedinja answer. Huh, very interesting. Both Shedinja and Ditto are some of those, like, fringe tech Pokemon that always saw some play in some of the restricted formats. Never too much, but yeah, very cool to see both here. I say very cool, but I don't want to fight against either, to be honest. Okay, Lando plus Zacian. Ugh, it's a waste of a White Herb on my end, which doesn't feel great. Turn 1, though, I can just fake out Trick Room relatively easily, right? And then bring in Instant, fake out Body Press turn 2. So I think that's what I'm going to go for here. If you're my opponent, you can pivot Landorus out into Indeedee right now to set up the Psychic Terrain. So the other contemplation here is instead of staying in with Rillaboom, I can just switch out into Incid instead. I don't think that's a terrible idea either. I guess the problem with that is if they like Dynamax Landorus, Rockfall, Behemoth Blade into Calyrex. I really would love to conserve Rillaboom for the Kyogre though that's probably in the back, so I think I will switch into Instant and Trick Room. The thing is, like, the Calyrex might be bulky enough, and they switch Zacian out, which is very desirable in my opinion, into Kyogre. Wow, really? Okay. I guess I shouldn't be that surprised by it. Like, I wasn't going to click Grassy Glide onto that slot, right? I was going to click a Fake Out. Yeah, I guess that's not that surprising. That's a nice switch by them, actually. Because the thing is now, you know what would be really sick? If they, like, they don't Dynamax Landorus and they U-turn out to get a free switch in. And then you bring in Indeedee to, like, set up Psychic Terrain. Well done, well done. That was a really nice turn 1 by them. Yeah, I can't even be upset by that. Because the thing is, now I got to deal with Dynamax Kyogre. They've got rid of my White Herb. They had a very nice anti-Rillaboom lead. Okay, so they didn't bring Shedinja. That's good to know. I don't have to be as careful about conserving my Shedinja answers. Also, I keep forgetting about this, but like one Shedinja answer is just Dynamax Calyrex, Hailstorm its partner, and then just to KO it via Hail. So it's probably part of the reason why my opponent didn't want to bring it here. Okay, the problem now, though, is I have to deal with Dynamax Kyogre. Ugh. Well, that's really, really bad. This turn is very awkward, because I don't know how fast their Kyogre is relative to me. You could just fake out my Incineroar and then Geyser something here is the problem. So I'm thinking Parting Shot Kyogre and Iron Defense, but I don't have switch-ins right now into Kyogre. Yeah, I've got Yveltal and Rillaboom in the back, and like, I guess those are switch-ins to some extent, but that was a very nice turn 1 by my opponent. Like, pivot out. The thing is, I don't feel safe clicking Fake Out on turn 1, and Fake Out wouldn't have actually accomplished anything because they went for the hard switch. But Kyogre switches out. Oof. I think that's actually going to hurt them a lot if they didn't Fake Out Calyrex here. Wow. Yeah, I thought that was a pretty prime position for Kyogre to max. They double switch. Now, I see what they're going for, because the idea is, oh, like, let me intimidate your Calyrex Ice Rider, but once again, this is where the Iron Defense Body Press set is unbelievably good for us, because I get a free Iron Defense up, and that's such a big deal, because, like, my main fear was taking a lot of damage from Kyogre this turn. One other thing I do have to be careful about, though, is Ditto coming in and just copying my boost, so that's actually a really big issue. I just realized, like, I'm running all physical mons. Oh, no. Oh, no. Well, that's something we are going to have to be a little bit careful about. It's going to bring in Yveltal right now. Okay, now with Yveltal, I am content to start snarling. Well, the thing here is I'm at +2 defense. It may, like, I want to double up Foul Play and Body Press into Zacian. And I think I'm okay with that, because even if Zacian protects, I don't really care about what Landorus goes for right now. And if Zacian switches out, great. I get a bunch of free damage on something switching in. This is such an interesting game, because, like, no damage has actually happened so far. But I got a free Iron Defense off, and Calyrex after a single Iron Defense is an absolute beast. So they're going to switch out. Okay, into Kyogre. Ideally, Zacian just try to attack here, and we just KO it. And they do try to attack. Okay, wonderful. It's going to be close. I think Foul Play should get the KO, though. Nice. Beautiful. Okay, that's, it's so funny, right? Because Zacian should theoretically be one of the worst restricted Pokemon for Yveltal Calyrex to go up into, but the way this team is constructed, it's actually very doable. The problem, though, is now what I mentioned, which is them bringing out this Ditto and copying my boosts. Which is kind of a nightmare. Okay. I've got Instant in the back. Who do they Dynamax in this game is the other question, right? I also don't know how fast everything on the field is right now. That's the other awkward part of it about all of this. I want to max Yveltal, I think. So I don't mind going out into Incin right now and just going for a Body Press onto Kyogre. You know what? I don't love that play, because the problem with this is they could just max Geyser. Oh my gosh, yeah, they can just max Geyser my Calyrex and body press my instant switch in. That was not a good play. I think if I were to replay that... But then it's like, what do I do? I don't want to max my Calyrex. Huh. And the thing is, max Yveltal with Rillaboom can still win, right? Because it's like, Rillaboom can just glide Kyogre. And after a body press, I think that'll be a KO. I didn't think about Ditto copying Calyrex's boosts in this matchup. I don't know how I play around that very easily either, but... That's great damage from body press, nice. Okay, yep, they go for their own body press. Yep, onto Incin. And could have stayed in with Yveltal there as well. So the other question is, can I survive a max Geyser right now? I think getting Chilling Neigh boost is also not ideal. They're also not Scarfed, which is good to know, but that doesn't work in my favor here. Yeah, I get one shot there. That was a bad play on my end. It's because they're Life Orbed. If they were not Life Orbed there, we could survive, but... It feels so fitting that, like, we haven't lost with this team yet, and then the loss comes to losing to our own Calyrex Ice Rider set. And by ours, I mean Bingius, because he's the mastermind behind this team. Ugh, them being Life Orb is a disaster. That's so bad. How many turns of grassy terrain do I have left? It just also worked out so poorly in terms of terrain. You can just Hailstorm me. I don't see a great out here. I don't even know how fast the Kyogre is. Oh, okay. I think I'm just gonna go for Glide and hope to pick up the KO onto it. And I'll go for Special Max Darkness, because that's my best way of handling this right now. Oh, Intimidate, yeah. Makes sense. I honestly don't mind that too much. I think we could still win this. Because I have a late game Dynamax to play towards right now. This is where the White Orb would have been so clutch, though. And the fact that it got consumed in the beginning of the game was awful. I wanted to cover for... Like, I was hoping that they would lead Landorus and Kyogre, but that... Reading into that lead wasn't worth the trade-off of losing my White Orb that early on. And, like, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I like that play on their end. Okay. However, I actually think this gives me a window because my opponent just played very passively this previous turn, right? And I get a special defense drop on both Pokemon now. If you're my opponent, you really want the Ditto to ideally copy the Yveltal slot. Your best way of doing that would be to switch out Kyogre this turn, but that's really awkward. Here's the thing, I actually have Protect on the Rillaboom, which is a really big difference maker right now, I think. Yveltal should win against Kyogre 1v1, so in this position, I'm actually going to Airstream into Landorus and then Protect with Rillaboom. I think their play there was hoping I didn't have Protect, but because we have Protect, this is actually a huge difference maker. Because right now, I have a free Airstream into the Landorus slot, and Yveltal's not at risk of really taking too much damage. The reason I was surprised they switch out the copied Calyrex Ice Rider was because that was actually their best way to damage me with Glacial Lance. So I think it was kind of a mistake for them to switch out, in my opinion, and I can see what they were going for, especially if like you think I'm AV Rillaboom without Protect, but us having Protect here is a really big deal. Fly on Landorus here would be a really good play right now. Oh, we're just faster than both. Okay. That's huge. I didn't think that was the case. If I knew that, I could have just gone for Darkness instead. The thing is, now they get Rillaboom in, or they're bringing Ditto, which is my Rillaboom, and yeah, they Hailstorm. Into Rillaboom's Protect. Beautiful. That's so much damage. Well. But the thing is, now Dynamax on Kyogre is over. Yeah, this was interesting because my opponent played passively, but I think they actually got punished pretty heavily as a result. Now I'm faster than Kyogre. You take a considerable amount of chip damage between Life Orb and Hail. What's funny is by bringing out the Rillaboom... If my opponent's bringing out Rillaboom here... Well, that means Ditto copying Rillaboom. Surely you go Fake Out into Rillaboom. And Blizzard, right? You could go for Protect. You could go for Protect. My main question is, does a Max Darkness KO Kyogre right now? With that special defense drop? I don't think it does. I'm basically trying to think how I can play around a freeze. I also don't know the item on their Ditto. I think I will just Airstream into the Ditto slot here, and I'll go for the double protect. I don't have anything to lose off going for this double protect, and if I get it, oh, they actually just forfeit. I think the game was still possible for them to win for one more turn if you get a Blizzard Freeze on my Pokemon, but they just end up not going for it. So I am really impressed by this team. Like, this Calyrex legitimately was the MVP in almost all the games we brought in. I never thought you could take Yveltal and Calyrex and have a favorable Zacian matchup, but this team somehow has pulled it off. So huge shoutouts to Binja, the original creator, for putting together this genius team together, and I'm really just absolutely amazed by it. So yeah, that's going to be it for this one. So thanks so much as always for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Don't forget to answer the question of the day, and I'll see you all next time. All right, peace.